Well, I might get started. So thanks very much, everyone, for joining tonight. I hope you're doing okay, given we're now in our lockdown 6.0. I mean, I guess I'm losing count of how many times we've actually had to basically open up and close down and open up and close down. And I know there's probably many of you on this webinar tonight who have had that experience as well. So I wanted to go through tonight and go through growing your business with confidence post-COVID, just to kind of really give you some ideas and maybe some inspirations to help you in this time of, at the time when we were organising this, I knew it was going to be online. I didn't expect it was going to be because we were locked down. But obviously here we are in this situation now. So just a bit about then, hopefully you can all see my screen. So hopefully that's sharing well. If you can't see my presentation, do just put a quick note in the Q&A for me if there's any challenges on that. Just to introduce, my name is Shannon Smith. So I'm the founder and director of Smart Business Solutions. We're in Mornington, local accounting firm just in Mornington, and we work with a lot of obviously local businesses in our area. I guess many small businesses, and I've been very passionate about small business for many years, but many small businesses, I guess you feel like at times a bit of a slave to your business, and you can get a bit out of control. And I guess especially with what we've been going through with this opening and closing, there's a lot of pressure building up. So hopefully today what I want to go through is to really give you some ideas, some tips, inspiration to try and help you get through and kind of make the most of this bad situation that we've all been faced with as well. So thought for the day, I always like to start a lot of my webinars with a bit of a thought for the day and kind of try and find something that's quite relevant. Charles Darwin said it, but it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the ones that are most adaptable to change, which I think that is so relevant at the moment with everything that we've seen and going through. So the areas I want to go through today, and I'll touch on these, and at the end there's you can ask some questions, so I can go through any questions that you have. If I see anything that I going through, I can always try and answer something as I'm going through. But have a look at, well, what do we mean by the new business as usual and the lessons that we've had from lockdowns? How to avoid going insane as we kind of start to bounce back, and then how can you use this to really get yourself framed so that you can get from A to B? And so really putting together your roadmap, looking at your dashboard, and then really looking and tapping into 7 ways to grow your business. And I'm going to go through a worked example and then give you some ideas on some next steps. So the worked example will hopefully kind of really give you the magnitude of what can really change if you are looking and going through those areas. So I guess the new business as usual, who would have thought we would have been in so many lockdowns? When we came out, I guess late last year, I felt that we were off. Who would have expected we'd go back? And I guess we were looking at that point and looking at this continuity phase in basically business in hibernation, a lot of government support, and really trying to, I guess, grow that cash war chest at that point. We went into this recovery phase, and I was absolutely pleasantly surprised at how quickly people were really pushing to bounce back. And I think that we saw that especially on the peninsula with the way in which community really came around, and we're really trying to help a lot of people and going through that area. So I'm looking at it now saying, well, actually it's the new business as usual. We need to kind of get used to until they get to this point where they're saying, is it the vaccination or other aspects, so that we can actually get to a point where we're not going into all of these lockdowns that we're really kind of seeing. But some of the key things, and there were some really big learnings that did come out of lockdown that I think have probably really helped us in going forward in the future. And so some of the key things I saw from clients and from ourselves with some of the innovation that came out as a result of lockdown, and some of the re-engineering, the adaptations that came out, and some of the, I guess, widening of your lane in a sense on, and I even look at it for the fact of webinars, and we've been running a number of webinars the last 12 months, but actually before lockdown last year, when we had JobKeeper coming out, I'd actually never done a webinar because I'm a bit of a face-to-face kind of person. I like face-to-face meetings, and I like face-to-face education sessions. So we've always done it face-to-face, but last year with the JobKeeper, there was no way that we were going to be able to do that face-to-face. So it's really some of the lessons that we've learned from lockdown is being able to look, and it's really made a lot of people change and think of how can we do things differently. And also just even with the working from home and being able to adapt and get that to a smooth process when we've got some of these lockdowns. So I think there really has been some positives that really did come out of it. What we really did see is, you know, that when forced upon us, change can happen really fast. And I saw that within my own business and saw that with so many businesses locally. Working from home is great for some, it sucks for others. It really probably depends on your business and how you're able to do it, and also your staff's situations. Technology definitely can be a friend, and if you're agile, it can be your enemy if you're slow to adapt. And I saw a lot of businesses pick up on the technology that had, you know, there were many businesses even on the peninsula that didn't have online stores and had to really quickly adapt. And the war chest of cash, you know, is not a nice to have, it's actually a must. And I've been saying that to clients for many years, in making sure that you've always got, we call it, you know, war chest of cash. It's basically like your working capital, trying to have a bit of a cash buffer. And there might be many of you on the webinar tonight. I know my parents always said to me, you know, you should always have 3 months expenses, cash for 3 months expenses in your bank account, you know, just waiting for that rainy day. And I think what happened with COVID really kind of emphasized that need, that not only on a personal level, but people need to have this from a business level. And I think with a lot of the cash incentives that have come around and with the bounce back, what I have seen is a number of businesses really trying to start to build up that kind of safety net, so that when we do have a lockdown like this, they've had some cash built up from that perspective. The other big thing I think that really came out of going through COVID, and just to give you some ideas to see how did you adapt when we came out of it, and what could you even take from some of this, is really making sure you're looking at working on your business versus in your business. There are some things that you're just going to have to jump in and really help work in the business. But how can you now, we've gone through such a massive change over the last 12 months. You know, we've been able to achieve things that you wouldn't have expected to achieve because you're forced into different situations. But what does the next 12 months look like for you? And really having a look at taking a step back on the business and looking at this, working, you know, on the business, not in the day-to-day in it. Have a look and try and think about what's your strategic direction? You know, what is the next year going to look like? I always set goals within my business, and I'll touch on business planning a bit more in this presentation, but I'm always setting goals to say, okay, if I catch up with someone that I haven't seen for 12 months and I catch up with them, what do I want to be able to say in 12 months? When they say, hey, Shannon, how was your year? How was the last 12 months? What do I want to be able to say? And putting those goals out there so that you've really got that, you know, you can start to drive yourself as and get that plan going as well. When you're looking down to the operational side, and this is where you can start to work on your business, not just in your business, is starting to take a step back and looking at your operations. What I mean by that is every business, no matter what type of business it is, there are 10 departments in every business. Every business tends to have, now what you might find in your business, in your small business, you might actually find you actually wear all 10 hats in your business. You might be head of product development and service development. You might be head of operations, head of sales, but every business has the 10 different areas of the business. And I know myself, as my business has evolved, and my business started, I used to work for one of the big city accounting firms. And then obviously I started up for myself with young kids, started up from home. So I was all 10 hats in my business. If I look today, 15 years on, I now have a marketing person. I have a finance manager. I outsource my IT and I have a HR manager, and I have all my accountants being that operations side. So you can start to see over time how you can start to, whether it be grow your business or at least focus on each of the different areas. Now, when I say about coming out of COVID and actually working on your business rather than in your business, having a look at each of these parts of your business and say, what did I learn about going through this process that we've just gone through with COVID. What did I learn that we did well? But what did I learn that didn't work so well? And how can I improve on that? So, if I look at, and I think finance, obviously close to my heart, so I can look at that one. But if you're looking in your business and say, well, how did I go from a finance perspective? What did I learn there? Well, I learned that maybe it was that your customers were paying you a lot slower because you were so busy that you weren't following them up, or maybe you weren't getting your invoicing out on a timely basis. So looking at your finance function, think about, well, what could I do differently in my finance function that would help my business, and come up with those key points to say, well, these are the things I need to improve on. And going to looking marketing, how am I promoting my business? What did I do during this time? And how could I do that differently? So that you can kind of come up with some key actions for each of these different departments, and then chip away at each of these different areas. But really what I kind of want to say is, like, to leave, in a sense, no stone unturned when you're going through each of those parts of the business, because you can have a great product or a great service. So when I look back at those, if I go back up to the 10 departments of your business, you may actually have great operations. You've got great products or great service, and what you're delivering. But if any of those other areas are failing in your business, that, you actually, and I see this actually a lot with tradies, they go and fix, maybe the plumber goes and fixes the plumbing, and then they're wondering why they're not getting paid, but the invoice doesn't get sent out till 2 weeks after the fact. And then, it might take a week or two to get paid after that. So how can you improve? And that might be a combination of finance and a bit of technology coming in there. How can I improve that to be able to help my business run smoother, so that I can keep up with the product that you've got or the service that you've got? So really looking and leaving no stone unturned. What I mean by that also is that going through each of those areas, come up with all the ideas and the ways that you might be able to improve them, but know that you can't conquer the whole lot at one time. So, put those down as action steps, and then starting to go through them. So I'm going to go through some really practical ways, and then I'll have a worked example at the end to show you some of the, to kind of put into numbers as to what I'm trying to go through with the ideas on really growing your business in this post-COVID, and doing it kind of in a structured way, so that you've got some feeling of, in a sense, control on how you're going to do that. But I really love, and some of those that have seen my presentations before, I love actually always talking about this avoiding insanity. I say that because I've also been guilty of it. You go to a lot of different, you might turn up to a webinar, you might turn up to conferences or workshops or breakfasts, and you listen to the speaker, and then what happens then? What do you do then? So what I really want to empower you today is to say, well, actually today you have 4 choices. So you can listen to what I've said and think to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to get off this webinar tonight, and great webinar, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go back to doing what I've always been doing. You might actually get off the webinar and then go back into your business, try a few little things, and then just retreat back to the status quo and back to normal. And that you may actually come out and take normal amount of action. So you might actually come out and do, a thing, take one idea and move with that. Or you might actually come out and take some massive amounts of actions. And what I've really seen as a post-COVID, and I think COVID's going to be around for a little while, and we're going to still be having to adapt, is there's so much opportunity out there at the moment to really kind of have a go with the different aspects of your business, but really have a think of how can you improve different areas of your business and really take some massive amounts of action, not just the standard. So I put those out to you, and I'll check back in at the end with some of those, but really trying to have a look and go, well, actually, I've signed up to today, and I know the council actually charges you to come. So to get the best value from your side, start taking some notes. I'll get the slides emailed out to you. I'll get the council to email those out as well, so you can go back through them as well. But try and really come up with and say, I'm going to walk away and I'm really going to take a key amounts. Now, when I say massive amounts of actions, get it all out, get, in a sense, brain dump, go through those 10 areas and think, what are all the different things I need to improve? But don't try and make yourself improve it all in 1 week or 2 weeks, because you're going to set yourself up for failure. So instead, have a look at it and then work out, well, when can I get these and when are these achievable? But keep that goal coming as well. When you're looking at some of those areas, and I guess this will help you with also look at what things are high priority that must be done now and what you might want to do later. I really love this mindset. So this is around I call it the 5 A's mindset. And basically what we're looking at is when you've got these different challenges that come about, we've got the mindset, you go through a few different stages. You've got situations where you're aware of it. You're aware, if I do not make the necessary changes, the business will be impacted and my profit will drop. So what are you going to do about that? You might get to the next stage where you accept that, I accept that for my business to grow, I must free up my time and empower my team to actually be able to achieve it. And then it's once you get past that acceptance, and there's lots of things that, I had some clients that one hadn't actually done an online store, really should have. And I guess when this COVID happened, they're like, look, and if I go through this process and I kind of went through it with them without saying, hey, I'm going through this mindset process. But, I said, you're aware you're going to have to do an online store. Your business is going to be significantly impacted if you do not get and put it online. And I guess they've been talking about it for a year or so. Then now with everything that happened, they said, okay, I accept that for my business to grow, I need to free up my time and I need to get this online store. I might need to get an expert to help me, or I need to do it. And then actually take some action. So the action in this case might be even to create my business plan so that I can track this year. And then the accountability is making sure you do it. Otherwise, you'll have a nice glossy plan and you'll just keep ticking along. And then acknowledging it, that the fact that, sometimes bad habits can be hard to break. So, you might go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but keeping that going. But I really find going through those stages and say, okay, I'm aware I need to make this change, but sometimes none of us, think of, well, now I'm actually realize I actually have to do it. And that's that acceptance. Once you get to that acceptance, then you're going to move to action. And that's where you're going to see a lot of growth coming through your business. So how do we get ready to kind of take some notes through this, because this is going to be about how you can start writing up or putting together your roadmap. When I say roadmap for your business, and I know that, you can put a business plan together, and my first business plan, I had to do it with my chartered accountants when I was getting my certificate of public practice. I did a business plan. I think it must have been this thick because it had all the requirements. It sat in my bottom drawer for such a long time. I never looked at it. The last 4 to 5 years, I've kind of come up with a 1-page business plan. It's 2 pages because it's the front and back. And I can give you, if anyone wants on the business plan, I did do a webinar just on business planning, and I have some templates, and that's all on our website. So I can get that link with that template. But basically it's kind of a 2-page business plan. Now I have that business plan and I update it every quarter. But I actually have that business plan. I have a copy that's floating around on my desk at home and my desk in the office all the time. It's at the front of my mind so that I've got goals of 1 year and 3 years. And if you think about it, if I said to you, well, how do I get to the city? What way do I go to the city? You're going to probably say, okay, it's that way. This is the way to get to the city. That's the same as your business plan. How do I get, and what is my next goal? What is that end goal? And then what are the steps I need to take? Once you know your end goal, what are those steps I need to take to be able to get that? So point A can be, well, what does my business look like today? And point B, what do I want my business to look like in 12 months and 2 years and 5 years? And it doesn't always have to be growth. I know I work with some clients where it's not about growth. They've grown to the size where it's comfortable for them, but it's about getting maybe more time for the business owner, or maybe making the processes more streamlined, or getting themselves ready to then potentially sell the business. So it doesn't just have to be growth. It can be other different factors as well, but kind of getting that getting that roadmap going. So then it's coming together and getting that plan. So when you're doing a business plan, you really need to look at and go, well, okay, this is my business. So what is my core purpose? What is my business here for? Why? What is our goal? What do we do? How do we service our clients? How are we different from others? Who are our target customers? You know, who are we focusing on targeting? And then what are some of the main projects? And then you're looking at your business plan. What are some of the main projects that I want to achieve over this coming 12 months? What are these goals that I want to achieve? And if you go back to the organizational structure that I had put there, the 10 hats, you might actually go piece by piece. Now, when I look at those 10 hats and I look at projects that need to be done, I'm always focusing at the front of being, okay, I need, client service needs to be the absolute. So what are the projects that I want to get done that are going to have an immediate impact on my client service? And those are all my top projects. Then you kind of scale it back with what are those projects that I really want to get done, but are more kind of, core operations of the business that doesn't impact my clients. So thinking about those when you're working out your plan, what are some of those big projects? You know, what worked well for you during this COVID situation? What didn't work well for you, and how can you learn from that? And what have you seen others do well? What have you seen that you can learn what they've done well and see how you can adapt it in your business? Well, the next one is really to look at your budget. So really trying to understand your numbers and understand, well, what is it that it costs me? What's my revenue? What is it that I need? How many products do I need to sell to cover my costs? So what is my actual budget, so that you've actually got some goals in place? So working out, and if I look and go through a budget with a client, you might have fixed costs. So you might say I often start at the top and then I start at the bottom, and then I do many variations of the revenue side, because I might be looking like, well, what are my fixed costs that if I don't sell anything, I'm going to have to pay those. So I'm going to have to pay rent. I might have, a full-time person that's working for me, electricity. So you might work out some of those fixed costs. And then you're trying to work out, well, every product that I sell, how much does that product, when I sell it for $100? And if you're a distributor of some products, maybe you buy the product for $50, you sell it for $100. So every product that you sell for $100 costs you $50. So you had kind of $50 gross profit that comes out, and then you need to use that money to help pay for your fixed costs, the not negotiable fixed costs that you've got there. So working out a budget, and I often start at the top, what was the revenue previously? What do we expect the revenue to be? Looking at the expenses, but then looking at your end goal. And there's a number of businesses that forget to pay themselves. If you don't take a wage through your business, make sure you factor it in your profit. You want profit in addition to your wage, because ultimately you didn't go in business just to buy yourself a job. Now, you may have got a lot of flexibility by going in business for yourself, but you didn't go into business just to buy yourself a job, because let's face it, business can be, being in business can be quite stressful. So if you can work for someone and have the same income, aside from other, factors that may give you different, flexibility, that's a very you're taking on a lot of stress for not a different in remuneration. So I'm always saying to clients, look, we want to get you paid what would be an arm's length wage. What would your wage be if you're working for someone? But I want you to get some of that cream on the top, because, you work hard as a small business owner, you need to get some extra profits. Now, putting the budget in place, the benefit and the reason this can actually drive you from a goals perspective is putting a lot of businesses know what their fixed costs are, because they're like, okay, I need to make X amount each month just to cover those fixed costs. I want to also look at, well, what is the budget? What do you want the profit to be? And what does that budget in revenue mean if I scale it back to, well, how many products does that mean I need to sell a month? Or how many products does that mean I need to sell per week? So you can really break it back down and give yourself these kind of mini goals, so you can really start striving towards that. And I find that's really powerful with trying to get, in a sense, that motivation or seeing what's working from a sales perspective. The other area I always like to talk about as well, and when you do any of this, when you do your business plan, it doesn't have to be in a fancy format. It doesn't have to be, you can even just write it out if that, you don't have to print it all up. It even comes down to, like, also with the dashboard as well. At the end of the day, I just want you to think about it for your business and pull that information and then start managing it. But with a dashboard, if you think about your car, so you get into the car, you know, you turn the car on, all the different parts of the dashboard are there that you kind of have a look and you're like, I've got enough fuel, car's not overheated, and I'm driving, I'm not going over the speed. So you've got all of these different parameters. It's a bit the same for your business. When you look at your business, what are those key drivers? Now, in accountantese, as I like to call it, you will have key performance indicators. So what are those key factors of driving your business? But just think of your business and go, well, what are those areas of my business that if I don't monitor those aspects, that's going to cause me a lot of problem within the business? You know, is it, it might be on the financial side. It also may be on service delivery. Maybe you need to have your product shipped out within 24 hours of every order. Maybe it's a case of making sure that manufacturing is done within 1 week and the product's then shipped. So think of the key areas of your business and put them kind of on a dashboard to say, that's what I'm going to track because that's what drives my business. Rework is a classic one of me when I look at even on the trades, even with some of the tradies, rework in taking the time. How much time does it take for us to do each job? But also making sure that we do the job properly and that I don't have to send someone else out to do it again or to fix it up a bit. So having a look at some of these key performance indicators, but just call it dashboard if you like, because that's what it really should be. If you're looking, you know, if I look at it, say, if you are manufacturing something, you might even look, cost of rework, you might even look work in progress days. You know, maybe if you're a retailer, you'll have a look at, well, what's the average client spend? How much is each client spending? If you're in hospitality, you'd probably have a look at, well, how much is each, you know, am I getting from each patron that comes in? How many times is the table turning in a night, so to speak? But some of those key aspects that you'd want to have a look at and maybe understand. And then I always say to make sure that you engage the co-drivers, because being a business owner, sometimes you can feel like you're alone, so to speak. And, you know, my business, it's actually just, I am the owner of the business and the rest of the team are working with me as a team, but trying to constantly engage the rest of your team. It's not just about you being just the main driver. And if you go back to the 10 different hats of the business that I talked about, and yes, you are the business owner, but the more you can empower your team to really be part of really pushing the business, the better the business is going to go. You know, getting that ownership of them, feeling that success of actually helping drive the business and that benefit that's going to come from, you know, that self-satisfaction. And obviously, the better the business does, the more, in a sense, that everyone kind of wins. You can kind of financially reward them with more, and that may come into those things. So really trying to engage the co-drivers. And I know what I do on an annual basis, I often find it around Christmas is a good time because we all have a bit of a break after Christmas. Gives me a really good time to think unconsciously about the business. What do I want for the next year? What changes? And then coming back in January, I'll start to put together a strategy for myself as to what I'm wanting to achieve in the next 12 months. But I will have an actual team day and I'll go through and I'll also bounce ideas, because it's amazing how much your team, they know about your business, but they'll actually come back with some other ideas as well. They're all refueled after the Christmas break too. So really making sure that you engage the whole team. So it's not just yourself trying to pull, to pull everyone forward. You want it to be, I guess, more push from that perspective. And then looking at how can you maximize your fuel efficiency, so to speak, and minimize your wear and tear, which is your pain and suffering coming through. So some of the 4 key actions that I suggest you do, and I've touched on these, but just to note them down so that when you leave today, you actually go and make some massive take some massive action. So set your annual plan. Again, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be what it is. You just need to set it and say, this is what I want to achieve in the next 12 months, or this is what my business looks like in 12 months and how you're going to change it. Set your annual budget. Have an idea of what does it mean? What are my expenses? But what revenue do I need? And if I take, well, what's that dollar revenue? How many products does that mean I need to sell to be able to achieve that? And then set and measure your 4 most key important KPIs. So what are the most key performance indicators? What makes your business tick? What makes your business more profitable and run smoother or give you more time? What are those key things? And start measuring. Because if you don't measure it, it's very hard to manage it. You've probably heard that saying before, where if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And then try and have someone independent hold you accountable to the plan. So put it out there so that you really are keeping focused on it, and you're not just pushing it off. I was going to get that done in those 30 days and then it wasn't done. So working out your annual plan, and what I often like to do is then take my annual plan, bring some of those key actions into 3-month blocks, and then actually say, right, this quarter, by the end of these 3 months, these are the key 3 things that I'm going to achieve. And I try and have not more than 3 projects a quarter, because I usually like to achieve everything in the first month, but what I've learned is then I get nothing done. I don't achieve any of it. So I try and break it out and schedule it out and say, okay, these are the different things that I want to do. Once you've got this framework, and you've probably been forced more so than ever before to really think differently. How is it that I've just had everything beyond your control? You've had either your business closed down, your business working restricted, business work restricted, or just other parameters in place. What can you do differently to plan out the next year, knowing that this could happen, and how are you going to plan around it? So some of the ways then to grow your business on it and really get yourself planned out, get yourself organized and structured, and then focus on some of the key points. So I'm going to go through 7 different ways to kind of grow your business, and you might take some of these, and I'll use a worked example at the end. You might take some of these and say, well, I'm not going to try all 7 at once. Now, if you want to overachieve, you could try that. But even if you just go, right, I'm going to focus on 1 of these, or I'm going to focus on 2, or I'm going to focus on 3. When I go through that, the financial impact at the end of the next few slides, and show you a worked example, that'll give you a good idea as to how that can really help change the business. So one of the first ways, and this really is something that you can look at for the majority of business, is looking at increasing your customer retention rate. So having a look, how can I get my clients and my customers and retain those and keep them as repeat customers, depending on the business type. You know, it could be ideas such as loyalty programs, ask customers what they want, follow up with them after they've made a purchase, or just that constant engaging. What I was saying to a lot of my clients that I coach when we had COVID, and the first thing a lot of people said is, oh, I've got to stop marketing, because, you know, that's usually the one thing that a lot of them stop. A lot of people stop when they want to cut costs. And I'm like, no, now's the time to keep your message out there. Let's just look at how, you know, what you spend on marketing, or how else can you do that marketing, you know, and how can we keep your customers engaged at a time when your business might be in hibernation. So I had some clients that had their businesses completely shut, and I said, well, I still want you to be engaged. So what else can you do to keep your clients so that the minute we're opening, they remember you, they don't forget you, because we've been shut a few months. So making sure that, you know, what is that retention rate? How can I increase it? So brainstorm on a few ideas. How can you increase your customer retention rate? It's always a lot cheaper to have a repeat customer than to go through that whole process again of trying to get the customer in as a lead and going down that process. So how can you kind of try and keep that repeat one? Looking at generating more leads, more opportunities, depending on your business, whether that's something that look at your target market, but how can you get, you know, a potential customer to be someone who's remotely interested. There may be like a suspect or a lead. So they're kind of coming in to be actually a prospect, and then actually to become a customer. And how can you get that message out to more, so that you can kind of, some of you might have heard, like they call it the marketing funnel. How do you get that message out to more, and then allow that to be able to go through so that you've got then your target customers? And, you know, that could be attending some events, whether it be there, networking, maybe it's your newsletter as well, strategic alliances. I had the craziest one today, I have to tell you. I asked, it was a potential new client. They wanted to talk to me about with SMSF, some financial planning. And I said, how did you hear about us? Because they're from Sydney. So, I mean, we spend a lot of our time with our local clients, being local down here. And she said, I found you on YouTube. I found one of your YouTubes and I was watching it the other night and just called. And I kind of was, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, would YouTube be the way that you'd be getting clients? I would have said absolutely not. So some of those areas, have a think about how you can generate more leads. And that might even be, if I look at maybe some of your business, maybe recording a how-to video on some of the different aspects of your business that you might be able to provide, how to spot a leak in, the pipe underneath your sink. If you're a plumber, say, for example, what are the top 5 things that go wrong with plumbing pipes, and have some of those videos that then link onto a YouTube that maybe help generate those extra leads. But I never thought it was going to actually do it on my side on that one. So there are crazy things that can be happening out there, but trying to get actually more leads. So if that was your focus, if you link this back to your the organizational kind of 10 hats, generating more leads, that's in the marketing. So you're in marketing going, okay, what do I need to do? I need to broaden my my customer base. How do I get that? What are the different opportunities? What would I do, and get a plan out there? Then I've got also looking at increasing your conversion rate. Now, when you're looking at your conversion rate, so you've basically got someone who's approached, and I'll use the tradies are a perfect example on this one. The number of times, a tradie will say, oh, I've been doing so much quoting, and I'm just not getting the conversion. And I kind of peeled it back and I said, okay, so when did you actually go out to do the quote? And when did you go and have a look on site? And then when did you actually deliver the quote? And what was the time delay? Because I know, as being on the other side, I'm sure there's many of you on this webinar as well. You've had someone out to quote to fix something, and then you're chasing. They're chasing to get the quote, and then eventually you're getting the quote. And especially at the moment when all the trades are very busy. But looking at your conversion rate, how can you improve that time? And I was working with some clients to say, well, actually, I want you to go on site, have a look at it, and I want you to, to do the quote and send it out that day. And their conversion rate literally doubled over the period of a month and just kept going up. And they just had so much work. So they had been focusing on on like literally your number 2, trying to generate more leads. Well, there's no point in getting new leads in if you can't keep your conversion up. So really trying to have a look at that one and see, well, what could you do? What is a follow-up? Maybe you could have a 5-point follow-up. And once you've sent that quote, what's your follow-up? Or you just ignore and no one comes back. And I think we've all been in that case where we've received a quote and you never got back to them and they never got back to you. So what are your 5 steps that you're going to do after that part as well? Then where possible, it might not be for all businesses, look at where you can increase the transaction frequency. How can you get that same customer back that, maybe it's through your newsletters, maybe it's through special offers, but how can you keep them coming back to your business so that you've got that repeat, in a sense, that repeat customer, but increasing the number of transactions that they keep coming back and, in a sense, purchasing from you. Classic one is coffee. The coffee cards are great with that, the way they have the number of coffees and you get your free one. But how can you increase the transaction frequency with some of your customers, and have a brainstorm on that one? And then increasing transaction value. And I have to say, the free shipping for orders $150 or more gets me every time, because I just don't want to pay the $10 for shipping. So I'm always like, what's their minimum? So I get free shipping. I don't know. I feel like I've won the lotto when I get free shipping, I think. But what can you do to increase the transaction value with some of your customers or some of your clients with what you're actually doing? And is it something, and I've had this with a few clients where we've actually said, let's up. And what we realized, I was actually with one of my retail stores, clothing retail, and we realized that if they did free shipping on $99 or more, that usually meant the person bought, say, one kind of piece of their clothing. They usually bought just, say, the one, whereas we increased it actually to $150 or more, and it actually meant people bought 2, and most of their products meant that it came up to about $190, price point, nearly $200. So we very quickly lifted that, and we even looked at how many shopping carts did the people not continue, and we didn't even have a change on that side. So it really just encouraged those to buy that extra. The other one I like to look at, so we've got focusing on, obviously, on the sales, getting that channel. Meanwhile, also focusing on how can you reduce your cost of sales or your variable costs. So these costs are the ones that for every product or service you provide, how can you reduce those costs so that every time you sell, you're reducing the cost of doing that and getting the margin. So that could be, you know, looking at the speed side of it, looking at efficiency. What else can we do to make that more efficient whilst maintaining the quality, but just trying to get that cost? And I mean, I look at some of the, you know, is it rework? Is it even looking at if you're going out to different sites, is it that you can get them all in a certain area so you can get some efficiency time-wise going out to those rather than just, I had one client actually, we're looking at theirs, and they used to, I looked at when they'd go out and it was a trade, they were going out to all these different sites all over the peninsula and Greater Frankston area. And I actually said, well, look, I'm looking at it. If I had a GPS on you, you're going all over the peninsula. And every time you get in the car and drive to the next site, that's like half an hour and half an hour. Can you not do blocks of time in different locations unless it's an emergency situation? And we were able to improve their efficiency and the time availability just because we didn't have all of this going back and forth as well. And then the other one is reducing your overheads. Now, I'm always looking at this on my overheads. You know, it's usually something I look at once a year and I go through all the different sections because let's face it, we all end up with, you know, different services and things like that that we've got. You know, look at the phone service. What are you getting on your electricity? You know, put solar in or different aspects, but kind of having a look at your overheads to see how you might be able to improve that side of things. So looking at that, I'll go through a worked example. And the example is, now I'll just try and see if I might change, I'll stop sharing and I'll change, I'll do a new screen and then hopefully that will, there we go. Hopefully this screen will nicely work. You know, when technology works well. Let's see. So hopefully I will just, someone make a comment in the Q&A if you cannot see an Excel file. If there's, just put it as a question if you can't see an Excel file here. But I just wanted to go through a worked example and I'm going to use, this was a live example. And so I've just kind of put the numbers in here, but I wanted to just show you, I went through 7 key ways on how to, in a sense, grow the business and thinking back to your 10 different parts of the business or the departments within each of those departments, how can we look at improving? So if I look at the variable cost, that looks at my operations. How can I make things run more efficiently and reduce that? If I look at the leads, how can I get more from a marketing side? And so you've got all of those different areas, but if you could, instead of trying to do all 7 at once, just wanting to have a look at how you can make a really big difference in just fixing up 3. So I've got a case study that I'm going to go through. This one was actually for an electrical company, so trading in the electrical side. And so what I did is we identified, I actually looked and I thought we could probably fix all the different 7 areas or all the different areas, but I said, let's just focus on what are the 3 key areas that I thought from my discussion with them that I could make a really big difference quicker and maybe, you know, the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, on what we might be able to achieve. So I looked at it and went, okay, conversion rate of prospects to customers. I looked at the average transaction value and I looked at cost of goods sold, or basically your variable cost. So I was looking at those different areas and saying, well, how could we, you know, potentially improve on some of these? So the owner was doing most of the quoting and the conversion rate was actually really, really poor. It was about 50% of the quotes that they did. And, you know, they're getting a lot of leads. This kept coming in through word of mouth. So every time they did a job, they got a lot of great feedback and someone else would want them to do one. So we kind of looked at it and we said, okay, and I put a system in place and actually I got his wife involved. She was happy to be involved. And I said, right, I want you to make sure that he does the quote within, actually I said 24 hours. I was being a bit generous, but within 24 hours of being on site. So her role was, and she had a little checklist that he would go out, she'd have his calendar, she knew he was going out, that he had actually done the quote within 24 hours. She would phone up within 24 hours, just ringing to make sure that you received the quote that he sent through. Did you have any questions? I can arrange a time for you to discuss the quote with my husband if you have any questions, but just making sure you received it. And then there would be, often they'd say, yes, we've received it, we'll come back to you, and she would follow up a few days later. So what we put in the system, and what we basically said, and if I use this around looking at the existing clients, so let's just say we're looking at our existing clients. So I'm not changing our, in a sense, existing clients, and we're going to say, look, the retention rate of our existing clients, because everyone loved the work he did, it was all good. But what we're going to say is we've got the same number of leads coming through. So we've got the same number of people inquiring and coming through. But we're going to say actually on the conversion, because what we looked at with the quotes, we had residential quotes and then also some that, kind of with a repair, we split those out. But let's just say we actually said, well, we're going to improve our retention, our conversion rate to 75%, because what we're going to do now is he's going to get the quotes out quicker. And because people have, he's actually already half sold the work before he even gets there, because he's been referred by people. So I said, okay, let's just say the conversion rate, we're actually saying you're not going to get 50% anymore. Now you're going to get 75% because you've actually proactively following up with them. So you're going to be actually getting 75. So our acquired new customers, we still have the same 145. So if you think back to those strategies of getting the leads in, we still had the same number of leads coming in, but we're now converting 75% of them as customers versus just the 50% as customers. So now I've got 109 customers to potentially to work with. We add that to our old customers. And then we're going to say, look, they're actually going to still transact with us 1.1 times a year. That was just an average. But we're looking at the prices, and I guess many of you would have seen, and I think interest rates are so low, but we're going to see a lot of inflation coming through. Prices are going up on everything. So we're seeing increases on prices, whether it be, and no doubt everyone's seen it on your insurance. That was a special thing that the insurance companies had to go to APRA to get approval to increase. So most insurances, you'll see that you've gone up by 30%. In a lot of cases, you'll find your staffing is getting more expensive, electricity. So everything's going up. And I said to this client, well, actually, we need to lift up your prices, because I was looking at their margins on another side. And I said, let's just assume that you increase the transaction value because you've increased your prices up by 5%. So that works out that we've increased their transaction value of 1560 to 1638. So that's a 5% increase. So if you think of your products or your services, could you do a 5% increase in your products or services at this point? And so I increased this. So we've increased our annual sales from 1.3 million to 1.37 million to 1.505 million, purely through increasing our conversion rate. So we didn't even have to go out and do more marketing. We just had to be a bit more responsive to the quotes that we had done and increasing the price that what we've sold it. And I've had some clients I've been working with that are absolutely flat out at the moment, and they just can't keep up with all the jobs coming in. And I said, well, you know what, you should just put your prices up, and then you'll get the right ones to work with. You're working on big projects with them. Just put your prices up slightly to make sure that all of this effort you're going in, and actually for them, it has not changed. It has not changed the number of people that are still wanting to keep working with them and getting work done for them. So then I looked at the cost of goods sold, and so that was one of our big drivers, because what I found with their business, and this was touched on a bit earlier about the rework. They had a lot of rework in a lot of the housing jobs, mainly in the form of mistakes and therefore wasted labour time, where someone would have to go out and, wasn't listening to maybe what the client wanted. Maybe it was a bit not done as well as it should have been, or maybe the apprentice's work wasn't checked as well as it should have by the experienced one, the A grade. So there was a bit of wasted labour time. So our clients started to work out on how they were going to improve the quality on those sites. How do they make sure, what checklists are they going to do, and what can they implement so that when they leave the site, they're finished, they're done, they're not going back to the site. So that was something that they had to work on doing. And I said, well, okay, if you do that, what about if we could reduce your cost of goods sold because of this efficiency and this rework and the labor time and the people going back? Because remember, the staff are going back during paid work hours. What if we could improve that by 5%? And, and he said, yeah, I think that's achievable, actually. So let's just say that goes down to 65% now. It was at 70%. Now, to do some of this that we would talked about, he did actually have to spend some extra money. So we had to put some extra systems in place, that we looked in, and they refined a few other areas. They had to pay a few different people to do some things, got to put a software in place to track also their projects that they had going on. So he had to spend a bit of money in this instance. So what we actually look at it and we go, okay, well, his overheads overall increased by about $35,000 to get everything in place, get the systems, get organised, and just other things that he had. And he actually also got some extra support as well, being that he's his wife. But I put a price on her time, because remember, it's just because it's husband and wife working in a business doesn't mean you're free. So that cost an extra, overall, it was an extra $35,000. So his expenses went from $265,000 to $300,000. So I can tell you his wife was really happy that she was getting paid, in a sense. But I did this because you can't just have her coming into the business and not also, in theory, getting paid from the perspective of the business. But what I want to show from these changes that we did, we went from our old net profit of 146, and these numbers are tweaked slightly from the client's actual numbers. I just have put the different numbers in, but we went from the old net profit to 226,000. So from 146 to 226,000. Now we would, I also just play with what does that value the business, but a business valuation needs a bit more work on that. But having a look at it and even thinking about it in your businesses and saying, well, this actually might be achievable. What are these pain points that you have in your business? Maybe you're great at conversion. So maybe your conversion rate to start off with is 80% and it's not going to change. It's still 80%, but maybe you want to improve your leads. So maybe if you could improve your leads to say 175, because you've already got your existing clients and customers love you, you want to get more leads in the door, your conversion's great. And maybe you want to try and get people buying from you 1.5 times a year. And maybe you're not even increasing your transaction value, but you got them to buy from you not 1.1 times a year, 1.5 times. And because there were new leads as well that also became new customers, and your revenue's up around 2 million. So what I'm trying to highlight here is the way that you can very quickly come up with those, if you can identify, and probably off the top of your head, you'll be able to identify some of those pain points that you might have in the different aspects of your business. And then from that, work out and say, right, this is the focus point that I'm going to focus on improving. So in this instance, if the conversion rate was the one that you were going to focus on improving, what are the systems, what are the processes that you need to do to be able to improve that, so that you can actually get that part refined, then move on to the next one. So that's why a lot of clients, when I go through this, they say, oh, I want to improve it all. Well, that's all great, but try and break it down, go back to your different parts of your business and work out what are the different areas of your business that you can improve on in those different areas to try and help kind of streamline that process. Now I will try and go back to the other one. It's great when there we go. Hopefully we're back on the slide. It looks like it's come back on there. And so that was just going through a bit of a worked example to kind of show you the magnitude of the numbers that can happen if we do improve these different areas of your business. If you can just work out some of those types of key areas. So going back, I guess what I've touched on is, I call it the 7 ways of the different aspects of the business improving. But before you even start improving your business in those different ways and trying to grow your business, go back and think about your plan. Work out what is it that you're actually wanting to achieve, and really try and say, in 12 months' time, what do I want to be able to say I have achieved? What is my goal? Why am I doing this business? What am I trying to achieve? What do my clients look like, or my customers look like? What am I selling? And what is it financially as well? So it's operational, financially, and then also from your own side. Once you've got that, so we're going from A to B. Once you've got that B, how do I get there? bring it back and go, well, how many steps do I need to come back? And quarters are quite good to have that 90-day action plan. Maybe you want to break it back to monthly, but you can actually look at those 10 different areas of your business and work out, well, what are the different areas that I can streamline? I'm a big one on processes. I did work at McDonald's for a very long time, at Mornington McDonald's from age 15, as I'm sure many of you have worked those jobs, but I did work there. And one thing that McDonald's was really good at, and I definitely took that way with me, is the way in which they look at each part of the business and they systemize everything, and they make sure that, and you can systemize things and still have that personal touch, but making sure that you've systemized it so that you're getting the efficiencies, you're not getting the errors coming through, and you're getting that same experience for each of the different, whether it be clients or customers coming through, but just the efficiency for your business. It's also good with the staffing. If you have those systems and processes in place, should you have more staffing turnover, you can kind of come through and streamlining in going through that. So I'll open up now to any questions that anyone might have on what I've gone through tonight. If anyone's got any questions or any comments? Okay, just one on business plans. How do I know what to include in my business plan? So there is a template. I can give the link, or I can give the template. I'll send the slides to the council, and I can give you a template of a business plan. Business.gov.vic has template business plans. Their business plans go on for a bit. I've got a bit of a just 2-pager so that you can actually kind of keep it quite streamlined and refined as well for you. But it really doesn't have to be a glorified business plan. It's really looking at, well, what is my end goal? And if that's my end goal in a year's time, what do I need to do today to be able to achieve that and bring that back into 90-day kind of actions and points, and then working out, do you need to do all of those different things that need to be achieved, or is there someone else that is better served to be able to do that for you? For example, on the IT, we could manage our IT somewhat in-house, not great, but somewhat. I have outsourced the IT completely. I don't have to worry about it. That's their expertise. So there could be things like that you might want to think about it. Marketing, you may do part of the marketing. Maybe you outsource that to someone as well to have a look at. Now, I don't have, there's no other questions. Does anyone have any other questions at all? Or afterwards, you can always reach out and contact me if you like as well. But I guess I guess to close it out in a sense, just always remember that even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. And I think that everything that we've gone through over the last 12 months has probably absolutely highlighted this. Just when we think we're getting to that post-COVID norm, the goalpost changes and moves. So it's being able to be adapting, having your systems in place, and having that ability to kind of take any of these challenges that kind of come up and moving forward with them as well. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to just shoot them in now. Otherwise, you can just reach out or reach back to the council, has the contact details as well. And I will forward the slides on to the council, and then also the template of a business plan to give you an idea on that. But good luck everyone with everything that's going on, I guess, with this lockdown that we've got. And yeah, just try and keep yourself positive, keep looking at what you can do instead of what you can't and what the restrictions are, and trying to work out how can you actually trying to adapt yourself and get the most out of what's going on. Yeah, but we'll be in touch. Thank you for that feedback, Kate. Thanks very much. And I'll get all of this information sent out to you. And yeah, I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.